that's what one of the architects of the Lisbon Treaty said. If you look at it was already rejected by the French and the Dutch in 2005. It was rejected by the Irish last year. It's a bit ridiculous.
Why do you feel that Europe keeps coming back to us with the Lisbon Treaty? Do you think really think it's that important for the future of Europe?
I think they, sorry, do you want to I think they feel it's important for themselves. I think our government feel it's important for themselves. I don't think it's good for the people of Europe. They're coming back to get the answer that they want.
The government, it still gives the Irish government a lot of powers. There's 3 key areas which will go to majority vote as opposed to an unanimous decision, which is where you hear a lot about a veto. Now, taxation, we do have a veto. So the Irish government can veto a taxation law by the EU. However, if you have full faith in your government and you believe that they'll always make the right decisions, fair enough. However, at the moment, if somebody makes a taxation decision, we can vote them out and then get the law changed next time. However, this time, if they do not veto a taxation decision, like say for example the corporation tax, and they do not veto it, that becomes EU law and can never be changed. We can never go back on that because EU law over-validates Irish law, and that's another reason why we vote for it.
No privatisation of health and education. This is a Socialist Party claim that the EU will force our schools and our hospitals to be privatised. This is a lie. The EU cannot force schools and hospitals to become private. Neither can the EU create private hospitals and schools that mean that individuals can't get education and can't get healthcare. The EU guarantees that people can get adequate healthcare and a minimum level of education and has pledged to improve the education facilities within the country. Therefore, this is entirely untrue. While privatisation and competition are encouraged, there can be no forced privatisation of anything the state thinks is important enough to be controlled by the state.
People wanted a more democratic Europe, and now they're getting it, and they still aren't happy. It's just it's speeding things up, that's all it is.
This is scaremongering. It'll cost you. What will it cost us? Apparently, more tax. This is a lie. The EU has no power to change the taxation system in this country. It is a lie. Anyone who says that they can change our taxation system is lying. Less power. Well, no, that isn't true, because the democratic representative institutions are being increased, and therefore the people we elect to Parliament have more power, and the people we directly choose to represent us have more power. So again, this is a lie. This poster says yes to recovery and features the face of Enda Kenny, leader of Fine Gael. Again, this implies that passing the Lisbon Treaty will mean a faster road to recovery. Of course, once again, the Lisbon Treaty is not designed as an economic aid. The Lisbon Treaty is not there to help us to recover from the economic collapse. Other methods are in place to do that. The fact that Enda Kenny is here is also a ploy for the next election, because yes to recovery, yes to Europe, yes to Enda Kenny definitely seems to be the aim of this poster.
Now you've probably all seen, I didn't see so many of them around Limerick, but certainly in Dublin, every lamppost has a big poster saying €1.84, the minimum wage after Lisbon is passed. Now, in any political debate, I don't like throwing the word lie around because it's a dirty word, it's a nasty word, but that is a lie, and we have to call it out as such. The Lisbon Treaty will not in any way alter the minimum wage here in Ireland, and it's important to stress that now. There have been a number of cases in the last 2 years in the European Court of Justice where the issue of workers' rights have come up. You've probably heard the names: Laval case, Viking, Rufford Commission versus Luxembourg. And again, I would, as regards the minimum wage, these cases, some of them involve situations where workers from a company had taken workers from their own country and posted them to another member state to let them work there. So Latvian workers working in Sweden for a few months on the building site. Under EU law, if a company takes workers from its own country and posts them to another country, they are obliged to pay those workers the second country's minimum wage. That's set out under EU law, providing there's 2 conditions: that country's minimum wage is set out clearly. It can be set out in a piece of legislation, or it can be set out in a national wage agreement like we would have here in Ireland. Now the problem in all these cases was that the member state to which the workers had been posted, they didn't clearly set out their minimum wage. So the community law allowed for them to set out the minimum wage, but they didn't actually do it. And it's because of this that the countries lost those particular cases. So the problem was with the national governments, not with EU law. And Sweden has already acted to change its own national law to make sure its minimum wage will be set out clearly, so such an issue won't arise again.
These are the Fianna Fáil posters. Ireland needs Europe and we're stronger with Europe. There is certainly some validity that Ireland needs Europe. Ireland without the European Union will certainly suffer terribly, but the fact is we're not going to be kicked out of the European Union. We're going to continue to be a member of the European Union even if we vote no. There's no validity in that claim, even though yes, we do need Europe. We're stronger with Europe. Again, the same problem with the Ireland for Europe posters. Stronger in what way? Certainly our voting rights aren't stronger. Economically, we are suffering and Europe can't really alleviate those problems. The treaty doesn't exist to alleviate our economic problems. Certainly it can't be militarily because we're a neutral country. Exactly in what way we're stronger is not shown by this poster.
Why they shouldn't vote for the generations to come. I mean, your forefathers fought for independence. Your identity is going to be gone. You'll no longer be Irish. I went to Tunisia and I was asked, "Are you European?" Do you know? So your identity will be gone, for which a lot of people struggle to achieve.
I think the Lisbon Treaty makes the EU better at fighting climate change, ensuring energy, and gives us as European citizens greater protection through the Charter of Fundamental Rights.
I think it's important that there are debates on the Lisbon Treaty and on the content of the treaty, and it's good that so far it has focused on the content of the treaty, because many on the yes side in public debates on the TV have actually avoided discussion on the content of the treaty in favour of putting up posters that simply say reaffirm their support for the geographical entity of Europe and insinuate that somehow if we vote no, not only that we'll be kicked out of the EU, or we might even be untethered and float over to South America. That's not true, neither are true, and they're trying to raise these, but more so that we might be kicked out of the EU, to avoid dealing with the actual content of the treaty itself. And I want to highlight three of the key issues in the treaty. Number one, how the EU undermines, number one, how it pushes a militarisation agenda in the EU, and Lisbon pushes that agenda. Number two, how it's bad for workers' rights. And number three, how it opens the door to further privatisation, forced privatisation of public services such as health and education.